Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I have a crochet top tutorial for you. This top, I am completely making it up as I go, so bear with me if there's any mistakes in the video. This is what it's going to be looking like when you're done, and this size hopefully is going to fit me. I don't really know at the moment. I have to finish it. So you're going to need a crochet hook. I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook. Sorry about the glare, but I hope you can see. And you're also going to need some scissors. I got those from Marianne. Thank you, Marianne. They're called, I don't know what type of scissors they are, but I really like them. They're super sharp. You are also going to need a stitch marker, and my stitch marker that I'm using, you guys have seen it before, but it is just an earring, a really small earring with a cute little heart on it, and that is what I use to mark my stitches. And then lastly, I am using Red Heart Super Saver yarn in the color bright yellow, even though it doesn't really show up yellow, but that's what it is. And let's get started. So of course, with every project you are gonna need to start off with a slip knot. And yes, ladies, I'm struggling with these nails. They are cute, but they come with a price. And you are going to, let me zoom in, y'all. You're going to chain 15. Now 15 is the amount of stitches that I use to cover my boob. If you are smaller than me, you are going to want to chain 11, and I would recommend 11 chains from A cup to C cup, and D and above I would recommend 15 chains. So I hope that helps anyone who is trying to make this top and you are smaller than me. After you chain your 15 or your 11, you're going to want to chain 2 additional chains, and that is our turning chain, because we are going to be working in half double crochets. And then you are going to put 1 half double crochet in the third chain from your hook. From your hook, and then into each chain going down until you reach the last chain. So I will meet you there when you reach the last chain. Okay guys, you should be at your last chain, and this is how we are going to make the cup. So you are going to be putting 3 half double crochets into this chain. That is why our stitch marker is so important, so that we do all of our increases in one stitch so that our top doesn't come out lopsided. So go ahead and put 1 half double crochet, and I'll show you how to keep track of your stitches. When you put your second half double crochet into that same stitch, what I like to do is immediately attach my stitch marker so that I don't have to guess. So I'm going to show you how I do that now. If it's easier, go ahead and take the hook out so that you could see it better. For me, I've just been doing it for a while, and as you can see as the video goes on, I just learned how to do it all in one swoop so that I can just crochet fast. And then after you attach your stitch marker into that second half double crochet, in that very same stitch you are going to put your third and final half double crochet. Now this part is kind of hard to explain, this next part, because now we have to work in the foundation chain. And for anyone who is a beginner, I do apologize, I did not make this beginner friendly, but basically the foundation chain is what you worked into for row 1, and we are working on the back side of it. That was probably really confusing, but that's the best way that I can explain it. So I'm trying to show you where you would place your next stitch. That's where our 3 double crochets are. So if you look, I'm pointing with my other hand to the next spot, and your foundation chain is literally right under the stitches you just made. So I'm gonna leave this clip as is because I know it can be confusing and I suck at explaining it, but I hope that you guys can understand. So we are coming up on our last 2 stitches. Just make sure you pay attention because we do have 2 extra stitches there. If it helps, make sure you count and you should have 15. When you get to this part, you are going to work into that very last stitch. I know it doesn't look like a stitch, but that is the chain 2 that you did during your foundation row. So just remember when you get to this last part, just to work 1/2 double crochet into there so your stitch count won't be off. So this is what your first row is looking like. We have our stitch marker up there marking the second stitch that's going to help us grow our cup, and this is row 1. So to start row 2, what you're going to do is you're going to chain 2, turn your work, and when I get there in the video, I will show you what you have to do so that you don't have any extra stitches in the beginning. Your chain 2 is going to count as your first 1/2 double crochet. So that very first stitch you're going to skip and you're going to work into the second one. And then you're going to put 1/2 double crochet into each stitch until you reach your stitch marker. And I will meet you back there. Okay, so now we are approaching our stitch marker. So what you're going to do is you're going to be working 3 1/2 double crochets into that stitch. So go ahead and put your first 1/2 double crochet in there, then take out your stitch marker, put the second 1/2 double crochet, and then you're going to what I like to do is I like to take out the hook sometimes to make it easier, and then you're gonna attach that stitch marker into that second stitch before you put the third one in. So just watch this part and go ahead. Alright, after you've done that, we're going to be putting 1/2 double crochet into each stitch until you reach the bottom, and this is row 2. So now we're moving on to row 3. At the end of each row, you're going to chain 2, turn your work, skip that first stitch and go into the second one because our chain 2 counts as our first half double crochet. And then you're going to work your way all the way up to your stitch marker, where you will put 3 half double crochets into that stitch with the stitch marker and work your way down. I did 8 rows of half double crochet before I moved on to the second part. You do as many or as little rows that you need. To know how many rows you need, just measure it up against yourself and that'll tell you. So go ahead and do as many rows as you need, and I will see you when I have completed my 8 rows of half double crochet. Okay, so I have completed my 8 rows and it is time to move on to the second part of our top. So to know that you have 8 rows, what you do is you find the line where you worked your foundation row and count upwards. That's the best way I can describe it. So now we're gonna move on to part 2. This is the first top that I made and I was just showing you guys what it looks like. You do not have to cut your yarn. We are just going to be crocheting right with the same yarn, and right here, this is how I've shown you how you count your rows to make sure you have as many as you need. You have to get the number correct because remember, you have to make 2 cups of the same size. So counting your rows and counting stitches is really, really important. So go ahead and pause the video, make your second cup, and when you are done, let's go on to part 2. Okay, for part 2, we're going to start off with a chain 5. In the first 3 of that chain 5 counts as your first double crochet. So knowing that, we're going to ignore that first stitch and we're going to count the second stitch as our first stitch. Sorry if that's a little confusing. So the pattern goes, you are going to chain 2, that's why we chained 5, 3 plus 2, skip 2 stitches and double crochet into the 3rd stitch. Then you're going to chain 2 and put in that same stitch another double crochet. And I'm going to zoom out so that I can show you what it's supposed to look like. If yours looks like that, then you are correct. So now chain 2, skip 2 stitches and double crochet into the 3rd stitch. Then, like you did previously, you're going to chain 2 and put another double crochet into that same stitch. You're going to be doing that all the way up, but watch very closely because as we get closer to the stitch marker, there's going to be something different that we have to do. So I'm going to leave this whole clip in there and not do like the little speed up, the time-lapse thing. I'm just going to leave it in there. So it might make the video a little long, but this part's really important, and I'll meet you back when we get closer to our stitch marker. So this is my last pattern repeat before I get to that little special spot that I told you guys about before we reach the stitch marker. So instead of chaining 2, because we need to get all the way over to where our stitch marker is so that we can still expand our top at the part. So that means we're going to need 3 double crochets into where our stitch marker is. Instead of chaining 2, you are going to chain 3, skip those 3 stitches, so right there, which I did point out, and you're going to work your 3 double crochets into where your stitch marker was. So here's 3. That gave us enough space to get to our stitch marker. And now, just like you were doing for rows 1 through 8, you are going to put 1 double crochet in, and then on that second double crochet you're going to place your stitch marker. Go ahead and put that 3rd double crochet into that same spot, and then we will go from there. So just watch this clip really quickly and then I'll show you what to do next. So to keep everything even, we are going to mirror the other side. So you're going to skip 3 stitches, so that means chain 3, and then you're going to put 1 double crochet, a chain 2, and then another double crochet into the 4th stitch from your hook, and you're going to work that repeat all the way down. So this is what it should look like if you have done it correctly. It is an exact mirror of the other side. So now chain 2, skip 2 stitches, and in that 3rd stitch you are going to put 1 double crochet, chain 2, and then another double crochet, just like you were doing before. So at the end, all you're going to do after you do your last pattern repeat, chain 2 and skip those 2 stitches and put your last double crochet. It's going to be in the chain 2 space of the previous row, or just the chain 2, sorry, not the space. So, and this is what it should be looking like. It's not going to be perfect on both sides because the math just didn't work out, but it's alright. So for row 2 of the pattern, you're going to chain 5, and then we're going to be working in the chain 2 spaces. So what you're going to do is put 1 double crochet, a chain 2, and another double crochet into the same chain 2 space. Then, like before, chain 2, we're working in the chain 2 spaces of the previous row. You're going to put 1 double crochet, chain 2, then another double crochet, and that is going to be your pattern repeat all the way until you reach the pattern repeat before the stitch marker, and I will meet you back there. Okay, so I am approaching the pattern repeat before the stitch marker, and this is where it's gonna get a little different, but super easy. So we have a chain 3 space in between us and the stitch marker. So to make up those spaces, what you're gonna do is chain 4 this time, and that'll get you all the way to where your stitch marker is. And then, like we did on the previous row, you're gonna put 3 double crochets into that stitch where the stitch marker is, and then on the second double crochet you take out that stitch marker and you place it on that second one, and then you continue all the way down. So after you place your stitch marker, go ahead and do that last double crochet into that space right there. And to mirror the other side, we are going to chain 4. That'll get us all the way to our pattern repeat on the first side, and then just repeat everything like you did on the other side all the way down. Okay, we are coming up at the end. So what you're gonna do for the ending, because now we're gonna be working into a chain 5, you are gonna chain 2, you're gonna count up 3 stitches, so 3 chains, excuse me, and then you're gonna place your double crochet into that 3rd chain. And I am struggling because I like it a specific way, and I don't know, but your girl was struggling. And then you're gonna place that last double crochet there. This was big enough for me, so I did not do any more pattern repeats after this. So I have 8 rows of half double crochet, and then I have 2 rows of the pattern repeat, and this is what it looks like. I zoomed out for you guys. And now I'm just going to be cutting my yarn, because in part 2 of this video, sorry it's like extra bright, we are going to be attaching them in a specific way. So go ahead if you haven't finished and continue working on this, and I will see you guys in part 2. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial and visiting the crochet corner, and I will see you guys, like I said, in part 2. Bye.